කරණීයමන්ත කුසලේන යන්තං සන්තං පදං අபிසමින්ච සක්කෝජුච සුජුච සුවචෝචන් සමුදු අනතිමානි සන්තුන්සකෝච සුභරෝච අම්පකින්චෝච සල්ලහුකවුන්ති සන්තින්ද්‍රියෝච නිපකෝච අම්පගම්බෝකුලේසු අනුනුගින්දෝ නචකුන්දං සමාචරේකින්චි යේන විඤ්ඤූ පරේ උපවදෙයුම් සුඛිනෝ ආකේමිනෝ හන්තු සම්මේ සන්තා භවන්තු සුඛිතන්තා කේචිපාන භූතන්ති තසවාතාවරා අනවසේසා දීඝාවායේ මහන්තාවා මංජිමාරංසකානුකතුලා දිට්ඨාවායේව අන්දින්තා යේච දුරේ වසන්ති අවිදුරේ භූතාවා සම්භවේසීවා සම්බේ සන්තා භවන්තු සුඛිතන්තා නපරෝ පරං නිකුම්බේත ඥාති මඤ්ඤේත කන්තචිනං කංචි ව්‍යාරෝසනා පටික සංඥා ඥාඤ්ඤමඤ්ඤංසදුම් කමින්චේය මාතායතානියං පුන්තං ආයුසා ඒක පුන්ත මනුරංකේ ඒවම්පි සම්බභූතේසු මාන සංභාවයේ අපරිමාණ මෙන්තංච සම්බලෝකස්මින් මාන සංභාවයේ අපරිමාණ උන්දං අදෝච තිරියංච අසංභාදං අවේරං අසපත්තං තින්ඨං චරං නිසින්නෝවා සයානෝවා යාවතංස විගතමින්දෝ ඊතං සතින් අදින්ඨේය බ්‍රහ්මමේතං විහාරං ඉදමාෝ දින්ඨින් ච අනුපගම්ම සීලවා දන්සනේන සම්පන්නෝ කාමේසු විනය්‍යගේදං නහි ජාතු ගම්බසේයං පුනරේති.
Very good morning to all of you. Namo Buddhaya. Nice to see many of you here to join us at the Shrine Hall. Welcome to our Buddhist friends who have joined us this morning, and also welcome those who are joining us on the online for this morning's Sunday Buddha Puja service, and later on to listen to the Dhamma on a Sunday morning. And many of you have to get out of bed much earlier than normal. Very good. I'm very glad to see all of you. We are all Kaimi Trust, and all you call it the spiritual friends. So for those who are following us online via the Facebook or the YouTube, this is the number 100 online Sunday Puja service. Please continue to engage with us. Just a sadhu or good morning to all your friends. Please keep on typing so that we know you're out there and who you are who are following us on this online Buddha Puja service. And if you are in the vicinity and find that it is easier to come over to SJBA, please do so because we like to see you. And we all gathered here with some wholesome thoughts and actions. And to begin with this morning's event, let us invite our Venerable Inda Ratana to start the Puja service. All right, it will be good that you all rise and fold your palms together. Please fold your palms together and then join in the Buddha Puja service. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Brothers and sisters, in the Dhamma, let's pay homage to the Triple Gem. Buddhang bujemi, Dhammang bujemi, Sanghang bujemi. I shall now hand over to Bante to lead us in the asking for the 3 ravages and the 5 precepts.
Page 6. Ahang bante sangsara vatta dukkhato mochanathaya tisaranena sahas panchasilang dhammang Dhamma Yachami Anugrahang Katva Silam Deta Me Bhante Dutiyam Pi Ahang Bhante Sangsara Vatta Dukkato Mochanathaya Tisaranena Saha Panchasilang Dhammang Yachami Anugrahang Katva Silang Deta Me Bhante Tatiyam Pi Ahang Bhante Sangsara Vatta Dukkhato Mochanathaya Tisaranena Saha Panchasilang Dhammang Yamachami Anugrahang Katva Silang Deta Me Bhante.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Repeat after me. Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Adinnādāna Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Adinnādāna Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Kāmesu Miccācārā Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Kāmesu Miccācārā Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Musāvādā Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Musāvādā Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Surāmēraya Majjapamā Datthānā Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Surāmēraya Majjapamā Datthānā Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Imāni Panca Sikkhapadāni Samadhiyami.
Imāni Panca Sikkhapadāni Samadhiyami. Imāni Panca Sikkhapadāni Samadhiyami. Imāni Panca Sikkhapadāni Samadhiyami.
Appamādena Sampādeta.
Amabante.
Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, so now let us recite together the recollection of the triple gem, the Buddha Anusati, Dhamma Anusati and Sangha Anusati. Itipiso bhagavā arahang sammā sambuddho viññācarana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sārati santa deva manusānaṁ Buddho Bhagavati Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sangdintiko Akaliko Ehi Pansiko Panaiko Pancantang Veditambo Viññuhiti Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Ujjupatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Ñāyapatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sāmīci patipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho yadidang chantari purisa yugani anta purisa pungala esa bhagavato sāvaka sangho Ahuniyo pahuni Dakkineyo yo Anutterang punyang kentang lokasvati Vandami cetiyang sambang Sambatane supatintitang Saririka dhatu mahabodhing Bundarupang sakalang sada Yansa mule nisingnoa Sambari wijayang aka Panto sambang yutang santa Vanditang bodhipadepang Imite mahabodhi Lokanatena pujita Ahang pite namansami Bodhiraja namantute Ganasaram padintena Dipena tamadansena Tilokadipang sangbundang Pujayami tamonudang Ganda sangbharayuntena Dupenahang sugandina Pujaye pujaniyantang Puja bhajana muntamang Vannagandha gunopetang Etang kusuma santating Pujayami muning dassa Siripada saroruhe Pujemi bundang kusumena nena Punyena metena cahotu mongkang Pumpang milayati ataidang me Kayo tatayati vinasa Adivase tuno bante paniyang parikampitang anukampang upadaya patiganhatu muntamang Adivase tuno bante Gilana pancayang imang Anukampang upadaya Patiganhatu muntamang Next page Kamma Yachana Kayena vaca cintena pamadena maya katang ancayang kamami bante buri panya tathagata Kayena vaca cintena pamadena maya katang Ancayang kamami dhamma sangdintika akalika Kayena vaca cintena pamadena maya katang Ancayang kamami sangha Supatipanna anuttara Sadhu Sadhu
Thank you very much, Venerable Interatana, for leading us in this morning's Buddha Puja service. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, this morning we are very pleased to have a speaker for this Sunday, which is Brother Ananda Fong, who will be sharing a Dhamma talk with us. Please allow me to introduce Brother Ananda Fong. Brother Ananda Fong was way back, he was a student, facilitator, deputy principal at the Buddhist Institute Sunday Dhamma School at the Buddhist Mahavihara, Kuala Lumpur. He was the student of the late Venerable K. Sri Dhammananda. So also the president of the Banda Utama Buddhist Society and principal of his Sunday Dhamma School. And he was the first honorary secretary of the Theravada Buddhist Council of Malaysia in 2012 for 2 terms, and later the assistant honorable secretary general till 2018. Today, rather than during his term at the Nalanda, he was a director of the Pustaka Nalanda in 2011, with the main library at Sri Sedang and branch library at Kuala Lumpur, Johor Bahru, and Sungai Petani. What about anything to add about the speaker? I must say that every time he speaks, I really follow his talk. He did lots of research and share all the Dhamma that he knows. I'd like to invite this Brother Ananda Fong to proceed with the sharing of the Dhamma. And later on, to all of you who have any questions, please come forward, or rather raise your hand and we'll pass you the microphone. And for those online, please type your questions. And of course, as usual, due to time constraint, we may not be able to answer all your questions. Wow, let's hear from Brother Ananda Fong. Over to you, Brother Ananda Fong.
Just a short puja for myself. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The last time we met, which was the first Sunday of September this year, I shared a topic on this with this title, I Want It All, but at what cost? Just to recap some slides, the sutta that I shared was regarding the aspect where the Buddha was teaching a king personality of Kosala, about what is inevitable in life. That we are surrounded on 4 sides by encroaching mountains that crush everything in its path. And the Buddha mentioned that aging and death is rolling on towards us. And what can we do about it? And in reply, King Personality of Kosala said, as aging and death are rolling in on me, Lord, what else should be done but Dhamma conduct, right conduct, skillful deeds, meritorious deeds. Okay, this sutta is about the simile of the mountains from the Samyutta Nikaya here, sutta, the chapter 3, sutta number 25. And so it continues. So a wise person, seeing his own good, steadfast, secures confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. One who practices the Dhamma in thought, word, and deed receives praise here on earth, and after that rejoices in heaven. Now, this is interesting because in the earlier, the previous sharing, the practice of the Dhamma is likened to be the actions of a wise person. A wise person takes care of his or her own welfare as well as those around him or her. Now, seeing his own good, he looks forward to all the things he has done. Steadfast, it means he's constantly doing things, not spur the moment, occasionally, or depending on your mood. But steadfast means steadily. Secures confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Very often in Dhamma circles, we hear of the word saddha, translated frequently as faith. Here it is more on confidence, because confidence is a stronger aspect of saddha. Why? Confidence has to be earned. It means you need to, when you hear the Dhamma, you need to evaluate it, you need to contemplate it, you need to test it out to see whether it is correct and reasonable and realistic or not. So the Buddha might teach, but the Buddha expects you to check it out. And therefore, when you do experiments in your life and see whether Dhamma works for you, and it does, and you see the results for yourself, not what I tell you or what other people tell you, but you know it for yourself. Confidence grows within you. And with that, you have growth in saddha. So you have saddha in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Of course, members of the Sangha, the monastic community, they are the preservers of the Dhamma and the elaborators. Anything you do not know, do not quite understand, you can, discuss and learn things from the members of the Sangha. So the threefold jewels are very important. And after hearing all that wise words from the Buddha, from the Dhamma, and from members of the Sangha, you need to practice the Dhamma. It's not matter hearing, sounds good, and then go home. So one needs to practice Dhamma to get the benefit. And the Dhamma touches on purifying your thinking, your thoughts, and what comes out of your mouth, the words, and your physical actions. It changes you. You cannot say, I come to the temple, or I just pray, and that's it. Expect changes in yourself. It's never like that. And we know for ourselves, even from early on, and we can, not just ourselves, we can see those around us, in our children, in our friends, in our neighbors, our community. Everything has to be learned. You think you are born, you know how to do gardening. When you're born, you know how to stand up, you have to walk. Even the small toddler has to learn how to stand up, how to walk. And with any practice, there will always be failures. And you try and try again until perfection is attained. Then you can walk properly, you can stand up, and so on. And you can do a lot of things. In short, Dhamma is a skill that has to be learned. It means from the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha to introduce these items to you. You try it out, you practice it, you do it again and again, you acquire this skill. And the word Dhamma itself is interesting. The word Dhamma, translated in English, means something that supports you, that uplifts you. It's not doing you under, it's actually supporting you. So if you practice something skillful, you acquire that skill that uplifts yourself, protects you. And as far as here on earth, you receive praise because you are able to transform yourself from your old character, which is full of faults, usually by your spouse and those around you. They point out you have this dirty habit, that dirty habit, and so on, or you're very stingy and so on. And then the next thing you know, with by little transformation, you receive praise while you are still here on earth. That means you are still around. People can see changes in you. And after that, the Buddha declares that these kind of people who transform themselves will get a chance to be reborn in the heavens. So this was what we covered the previous time we met. Now today's topic, compassion in our life. Why compassion? Well, some people might ask, why should I bother to practice the Dhamma at all? Well, the answer is here. Compassion in our lives. Not just compassion around us, but we need to have compassion for ourselves. Don't you want to take care of yourself? So you need to develop compassion. Most people, when you hear the word compassion, thinks of, oh, we want to be compassionate to others. But we often leave out the first step. Before we can be compassionate to others, we have to learn how to be compassionate to ourselves. Because if you're not compassionate to ourselves, why would we bother to be compassionate to others? Because most of us, we will view that we are more important than anybody else. When it comes to life and death situation, people will save themselves. Rarely you find individuals who will save others. So 99% of people will save themselves. So we are the most important person in our own life. And so we need to take care of our life. To take care, you must develop compassion. Now, how is compassion in Buddhism? Well, we move on to this aspect, the Buddha's compassion. Now, very often we hear this, but let me demonstrate it from the Tipitaka, the recorded teachings of the Buddha. Soon after attaining enlightenment, underneath the Bodhi tree, the early days, Brahma Sampati. Brahma is a living being. Now, in Buddhism, it's not about heaven and hell. The Buddha discovered that there are 31 planes of existence. We, human realm, are number 5 from the bottom. There are 31, so we are only number 5. So if you want to go, sometimes the suttas will mention the word heavens. Well, that one is an English translation. In Indian, what they call terminology, there are various kinds of classification. The realms of existence higher than human realm, up to quite a number above us, are normally called devas, deva realms. Deva realms are not heavens. The word deva means the luminous ones. Luminous ones because those beings, when they do appear, say, maybe in the temple on special auspicious days like Vesak Eve, Vesak Day, especially at night, they tend to appear as globes or orbs of bright light. Numerous times in the Sutta, the Buddha has described devas coming down to visit him and ask him questions and so on. But what about Brahmas? Brahmas are another class of living beings, even higher than the Deva realms. So you cannot talk about heaven. In Buddhism, the Buddhists will ask, which one are you talking about? There are so many levels. The 31, we are number 5 on the bottom. There are so many opportunities to go up. We probably have been there in our endless cycle of birth and death. But now we are humans. Okay, so this Brahma it comes from one of the Brahma worlds higher than the Deva worlds, which are already very present. Just one clarification. All existence in the 31 planes of existence, even in the Devas or Brahma worlds, all are impermanent. They are born there, they live a life, they will pass away. But the higher up you go, the lifespan is very long. But still, you will pass away. And it doesn't mean you stay born again there. We may have been born Brahmas before, but now we are born humans. If we do silly things, we hurt ourselves, we exhibit non-compassionate behavior towards ourselves by not doing the wise actions, what happens? We might make ourselves born into the animal realm or lower, the hell realms. Okay, so this person, Brahma Sahampati, by the name of Sahampati, appeared in front of the Buddha, knelt down, saluted the Buddha with his hands before his heart and said to him, Lord, let the Blessed One teach the Dhamma. Let the one well gone teach the Dhamma. There are beings with little dust in their eyes who are falling away because they do not hear the Dhamma. There will be those who will understand the Dhamma. Now, when the Buddha, when this Bodhisattva means a person wishing, aspiring to become a Sammasambuddha, when he became the Buddha underneath the Bodhi tree, he revealed what he had realized. He revealed the knowledge he had gained underneath the Bodhi tree. And he understood that it was very deep. And at that time, he felt that most people would not understand this thing. And so his mind turned towards inaction. He wanted to retire somewhere. Now, Brahma Sampati read the Buddha's mind and said, oh my goodness, the Buddha now mind is turning towards inaction. So he decided to appear on earth, invited the Buddha to teach, saying that there will be beings with little dust in their eyes. It means there will be some of us who can understand. So thereupon, since the Buddha was invited, the Buddha decided to survey the world. Earlier, the Buddha was reviewing the nature of his Dhamma and came to a conclusion. But under the invitation of Brahma Sampati, he reviewed, out of compassion beings, surveyed the world with the eye of the awakened one. Then he saw beings with little dust in their eyes, and those with much, those with keen faculties, and those with dull, those with good attributes, and those with bad, those easy to teach, and those hard, some of them seeing disgrace and danger in the world. So having seen this, he answered Brahma Sampati, open are the doors to the deathless, to those with ears. Let them show their conviction or confidence in the Buddha. Perceiving trouble, O Brahma, I did not tell people the refined sublime Dharma. So the bottom 3 lines is talking about, referring to the earlier way of thinking that he felt the difficulty in understanding the Dhamma. But then, when he surveyed the world, he found that there were people there who could understand the teaching. Some understand a few words from the Buddha, they can get enlightened. Some, they have to listen again and again. After a lot of practice, then can get enlightened. And yet, some, you can talk all the time, and there's in 1 year, out the other. So they got all kinds of people. But for those people who can understand, he felt, open are the doors to the deathless. Now, why did the Buddha use the word deathless here? Because enlightenment means the ending of death. Now, some people say, oh, hey, but the Buddha passed away, ma. What is he talking about? Open are the doors to the deathless. Well, the Buddha also, in little portions of his teaching, said that anyone who is born, whether it's a human, animal, deva, Brahma, as long as you are born, you are going to die. Life is uncertain, but death is definitely certain. How, when you die, that is not up to me to say, or the Buddha to say. It depends on you, your actions, and the circumstances around you. So, attaining enlightenment stops being born again. So when you're not born again, you can't die. So this begs the question, after the Buddha passed away at the age of 80, some people who do not understand the Dhamma will ask the question, where did the Buddha go? That question does not apply. Okay, irrelevant. Okay, and why is it relevant? Please learn more of the Dhamma to understand why that statement is very important. For those people who do not know Dhamma, to them, that statement does not make sense. Because to them, when dying, you must go somewhere. Okay. So, at the bottom, then Brahma Sampati, thinking, the Blessed One has given his consent to teach the Dhamma, bowed down to the Blessed One, and went back to his Brahma world. So that was the start. Right at the Bodhi tree, the Buddha started on his 45 years of Dhammadutta, of teaching and sharing to those who are willing to listen, and many actually gain deathless state. It means they attain enlightenment. The Buddha also showed his compassion to communities, not teaching individuals only, he's teaching communities. How a community, and if it's large enough communities form nations, countries, and so on. So the Buddha was compassionate enough to give advice to communities to be able to be united so that they can take care of themselves. In short, how a government should run. Okay, not just government, but even local communities, state councils, majlis, whatever, perbandaran or whatever. How do they conduct themselves? So this is contained in the sutta called the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. This is the great passing away. The few months before the Buddha passed away, and Buddha visited various communities, and he gave this narration: conditions for welfare of communities or of nations. Now, the circumstances in which this particular teaching was recorded in this sutta was that King Ajatasattu of Magadha sent his minister Vasakara to visit the Buddha, because King Ajatasattu, and very typical of many kings all over the world and across time, they want to expand their borders. Like now you can see the war in the news now. Somebody wants to expand their borders, want to make their country bigger for whatever reasons they can justify now. So King Ajatasattu 2,600 years ago wanted to expand and make his kingdom larger by attacking and conquering another country. So Ajatasattu was the king of the Magadha kingdom, and he wanted to attack the Vajjayans, just north of the Ganges River. So he sent Vasakara to the Buddha and asked the Buddha how he could attack the Vajjayans and capture their country. Now, the Buddha didn't want to answer Vasaka directly, because the Buddha was not what I call a person who encourages war. Because war, there will be death, not just among the soldiers, but also collateral damages. Collateral means people who are not involved in the war, people like you and me, the lay people, the ordinary folk. We will die also, because bombs fall here, fall there. They don't fall on soldiers, because sometimes those bombs or missiles are not accurate, and they fall on homes, on hospitals, and so on, if they were not purposely aimed at. Okay, so the Blessed One turned towards Venerable Ananda, his personal attendant, and said the following: "What have you heard, Ananda? Do the Vajis have frequent gatherings, and are their meetings well attended? Do the Vajis assemble and disperse peacefully, attend to their affairs in concord?" It means work together, not fighting each other. "Neither enact new decrees nor abolish existing ones, but proceed in accordance with their ancient constitution. Show respect, honor, esteem, and veneration towards their elders, and think it worthwhile to listen to them. Refrain from abducting women and maidens of good families and from detaining them. Show respect, honor, esteem, veneration towards their shrines, both those within the city and those outside it, and do not deprive them of the due offerings as given and made to them formally." Now, this number 6, I'd like to elaborate a little bit. Quite interesting. Do not think that the common folk in northern India at the time were Hindus. During the Buddha's time, there was no Hinduism. There was only Brahmanism and other local practices. And even before Prince Siddhartha renounced to become ascetic Gautama and later became the Buddha, there were already a lot of discontent among the local folk against Brahmanism. There arose many people who renounced the world to practice, to try to discover what makes nature tick, to find the truth, as they say, to gain enlightenment. So that means, in short, some of them found this and found that, so they started their own religions. So there were a lot of other religions, not only Brahmanism, during the Buddha's time. And number 6 is show respect, honor, esteem, veneration towards their shrines, both those within the city and those outside it, which indirectly is telling you, please respect another religion. If there are shrines there, please go and pay respect. Make offering, means make donations also. So number 6 is talking about inter-religious harmony within the community. So even during the Buddha's time, he was advising to do that. Regardless of whether your religion or whatever, you are respectful to all. You are supportive of all. Number 7, duly protect and guard the arahats. Arahats are those who are enlightened, so that those who have not come to the realm yet might do so, and those who have already come might live there in peace. So, and Venerable Ananda said, I have heard, Lord, that they do. So earlier the question was, the Buddha was referring to whether he had taught the Vajrayans, which he had. And Venerable Ananda at the time was with him. So Ananda here says, I have heard, Lord, that they do. And after listening to the Buddha, they practice it. So, and the Buddha concluded, so long, Ananda, as this is the case, the growth of the Abhajis is to be expected, not their decline. So by saying this, within earshot of Minister Vasakara, who was there, is telling him that the Buddha had already taught the Vajrayans these 7 conditions of welfare. The community, the country is very united. So indirectly telling the Vasakara to send the message back to King Ajatasattu for attacking Vajrayans. Don't think so. Why? The Vajrayans are very united. They are strong. You try, they will fight. Okay. So with this advice, Vasakara went back and conveyed the message. And King Ajatasattu at the time, for that moment, gave up the idea of attacking and conquering the Vajrayans. Now all these, the earlier messages and here, come from where? We must understand that all comes from the Tipitaka, the 3 baskets, the scriptures, the Buddhist scriptures, which comprises the Vinaya Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka, the Abhidhamma Pitaka. So far, in all my sharings, majority of my sharings, I share 99% from the Sutta Pitaka, discourses or lectures basket. And the Sutta Pitaka comprises the Digha Nikaya, long discourses, Majjhima Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and Khuddaka Nikaya. Now, those who want to hold a book in their hand, you can go to a good Buddhist library. I'm sure SJBA also has a good reference set. You can refer to them in English translation. But nowadays, with a lot of web-based sources, you can actually read suttas or do other Buddhist research online. At least I do that most of the time also lah. Now, the Buddha elsewhere in his 45 years of teaching has mentioned that there are consequences of inflicting violence on others. He who inflicts violence on those who are unarmed and offends those who are inoffensive will soon come upon one of these 10 states. So if you are very violent to others, you're not compassionate to yourself, you're not compassionate to other people, you keep on hurting people, and especially people who are not even armed, they're not soldiers, it means the lay people, common people. The Buddha predicts sharp pain or disaster, bodily injury, serious illness or derangement of mind, trouble from the government or grave charges, loss of relatives or loss of wealth, or houses destroyed by ravaging fire. Upon the decision of the body, that ignorant man is born in hell. Now here the Buddha doesn't say, oh, you're human now, you'll be born as animal. No, the Buddha says this violent person will go straight to hell. Plane of existence number 1 out of 31, right at the bottom. Elsewhere, and back to the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the Buddha talks about 5 perils. Obviously, if you do silly things, you will encourage these to happen in your life. It's not God who made it happen to your life, you made it happen to yourself. So the Blessed One addressed the devotees of Patiligama thus. The immoral man, householders, by falling away from virtue, encounters 5 perils. Now, here the Buddha says moral practice, development of virtue is very important. And for a person who ignores this, in other words, a person who is labeled as an immoral person, okay, will encounter 5 perils. Great loss of wealth through heedlessness, an evil reputation, a timid and troubled demeanor in every society, be it that he mixes up with nobles, brahmans, householders, or ascetics. Death in bewilderment. So a death which is very confusing. The person is not mindful. At the breakup of the body after death, this person reborn in the realm of misery. Realm of misery means perhaps lower than human realm. In an unhappy state. Maybe born as a human again, but a human with a lot of suffering. In the nether world, further down, and finally in hell, plane of existence number 1. So, who made them go there? Not Satan, they themselves, through their immoral behavior. So, you are responsible for your fate. So, everybody say, oh, I need to change my fate. I go to temple and pray. But once you hear the Buddha's word, you come to realize you determine your own fate through your practice, what you do with your life, in your life, to yourself and to others around you, your interaction. So virtue is an important component. Lack of it, you dig holes for yourself. So these are the 5 perils. And of course, the Buddha will always talk about not just bad things, but also tell you encouraging things. 5 blessings. So 5 blessings, householders, accrue to the righteous man through his practice of virtue. Great increase of wealth through his diligence. A favorable reputation, a confident deportment. Without timidity in every society, a serene death. And at the breakup of the body after death, rebirth in a happy state, even in the heavenly world, Deva world, and so on. So you want to be born in heaven? Some people are very particular about that. Well, this is a recipe. The Buddha told you how to be born in heaven. Please practice moral, improve your moral standing. Now, compassion lifts fear and trembling. All tremble at violence. All fear death. Not just humans, even other living beings also. Putting oneself in the place of another, one should not kill, and very importantly, nor cause another to kill. So even if you hire a killer, get somebody else to kill, you are also a perpetrator, based on this Dhammapada verse. All tremble at violence. Life is dear to all. Putting oneself in the place of another, one should not kill, nor cause another to kill. So, similar advice. Now, this one is interesting. Compassion lifts oppression. Now, one who, while himself seeking happiness, oppresses others with violence, other beings who also desire happiness, will not attain happiness hereafter. So, a person is quite difficult to imagine anyone who doesn't want to be happy. So, one who, while himself seeking happiness, but he uses oppression and violence against others. And of course, other beings also want their happiness, but you oppress them, you use violence against them. So the Buddha says, will not attain happiness hereafter. That means the person will not be born in a happy state. And one who, while himself seeking happiness, does not oppress with violence other beings who also desire happiness, will find happiness hereafter. So yet another recipe for happiness for your hereafter. Now, with the numerous sharing so far, you will note that the Buddha's teachings are not complicated. okay, at a certain level. Buddha's way of teaching covers simple advice for the man in the street, the farmer who is not very philosophical, not very technical. He can give examples like this one to most of us, and we can understand it. We can put this advice into practice. Those who want to ask very detailed and complicated questions like how does the mind work, what happens here, what happens there, the Buddha can also address that. So he answers according to the questioner, whether the question is correct or whether the questioner can understand the answer or not. Sometimes people ask very complicated questions. Question may be right, but the answer is even more complicated. Okay, so it depends. Now, this one is not from the Buddha, but this is a survey obtained from the internet. Regrets and remorse in our lives. The top 5 regrets of the dying. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Now, this was the most common regret of all. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Some of you might have seen this happening or read about it. Some people are married to their job. They don't come home. They rather sleep in their workplace and work. Why? They want more money. But after that, what is the quality of life? 0. Okay. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. I wish I had let myself be happier. So these are the top 5 regrets of the dying. So in the end, what is the use of this Dhamma Vinaya? What's the meaning of the word Dhamma Vinaya? The Buddha didn't teach Buddhism. The Buddha's teachings, the Buddha referred to the teachings, the 45 years of teachings, as the Dhamma Vinaya. Dhamma means the truth, or the way it is, the way of nature. Vinaya means discipline, the training to understand the truth. So what use is this Dhamma Vinaya? So in the picture at the bottom, the Buddha was sending out the first 60 arahats. Go monks on tour for the benefit of the common folk, the happiness of the common folk, out of compassion for the world, the welfare, the benefit, the happiness of gods and human beings. Now this exhortation to the first 60 arahats is found in the Vinaya Pitaka. Now notice, why do the Sangha members go all out to share the Dhamma? Because it is out of compassion for the world. So they have compassion for us also. And why do they, after sharing, what do we gain? Well, here it's very clear. It is for our benefit. It is for our happiness. It is for our welfare. So the Dhamma Vinaya that the Buddha taught is all these 3 things. So bear that in mind. It is not some mythical thing, must do these rites and rituals and all that. Finally, it is for our benefit, our happiness and welfare. All these are very practical things, not mythological things. So what about compassion within our lives? We have talked about the Buddha's compassion, the Buddha's advice and so on. But we need to develop some kind of compassion within our lives. With compassion in our lives, we can talk about sharing compassion with others. So in the Iti Buddhaka, it's recorded. This was said by the Blessed One, by the Arahat. So I have heard. There are 2 things that cause no remorse, no regrets. Which 2? There is a case of the person who has done what is admirable, that has done what is skillful, has given protection to those in fear, and has done nothing that is evil, savage, or cruel. See? Very, very commonsensical. I don't think I have to elaborate a lot on this. And the Buddha continues. Thinking I have done what is admirable, he feels no remorse, no regret. Thinking I have not done what is evil, he feels no remorse, no regret. These are the 2 things that cause no remorse. And further, having abandoned bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, misconduct of the mind, and whatever else is flawed, not having done what is not skillful, but having done much that is. At the breakup of the body, the discerning one reappears in heaven. So clearly, this is the recipe for those who want to go to heaven in the afterlife. So what about abandoning bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct? Well, just now, the Venerable Indaratana led us to the recital and reminded us about the Pancha Sila, the 5 precepts. In Buddhist observance, the cultivation of virtue and morality starts with the 5 precepts, very basic. And the 5 precepts covers bodily misconduct that we should abandon, we should train ourselves to abandon, and verbal conduct we should abandon. Okay, and so on. And misconduct of the mind is the higher level development. And the result of that is you sow the seed for you to reappear in heaven. Of course, this particular quote mentions about heaven, but you will start seeing the result here and now on earth, with those around you. What about compassion for the sick? Now, at that time, this story is coming from the Vinaya Pitaka regarding the Buddha going round. Now, the Buddha and Venerable Ananda, accompanied by some other monks, frequently go across India, visit other monastic communities, the Buddhist monastic, that means his students, who may be spread out across northern India. And he will visit this group, that group, and very often these groups, they form what they call, you may have heard of the term cell groups. They come together, they work together, they support each other, and they practice together. So another time, a certain monk was sick with dysentery. He lay foul in his own urine and excrement. Then the Blessed One, on an inspection tour of the lodgings with Venerable Ananda as his attendant, went to that monk's dwelling, and on arrival, saw the monk lying foul in his own urine and excrement. On seeing him, he went to the monk and said, "What is your sickness, monk?" And the monk declared, "I have dysentery, O Blessed One." So the Blessed One addressed Venerable Ananda, "Go fetch some water, Ananda. We will wash this monk." So this is an artistic rendition of the Buddha with Venerable Ananda cleaning up a sick monk. So the Buddha doesn't always talk only, but he puts things into action. So then the Blessed Monk had the monks assembled. "Monks, you have no mother, you have no father. Who might tend to you? If you don't tend to one another, who then will tend to you?" Now, this is the nature of a person who has renounced the world. Renounced the world means you have left the home life. You went to a homeless life. And the monks and nuns will depend on each other. So the Buddha gave this famous quotation, "Whoever would tend to me should tend to the sick." A lot of lay people are very devoted. Wow, we come to temple, we must make offerings to the Buddha and do this and do that. But for other people who are in need, we don't care. And the Buddha clearly says, "Whoever would tend to me should tend to the sick." This important quotation has even been inscribed and made into a plaque in front at the entrance of a hospital in Myanmar. I presume many other hospitals in Buddhist countries also have something similar. This is the charter for Buddhist monks to go forth and help with the sick. This is compassion for the sick. Now, very often, a lot of examples I gave is about things you can practice to show compassion to yourself. To go deeper into the practice and development of compassion, compassion forms one of these Brahma Viharas. And we need to develop the 4 Brahma Viharas. What does Brahma Vihara mean? Vihara, very often people say, oh, Vihara, like SJBA Vihara. Vihara is a place. okay, a place we can stay. But Brahma Vihara is special. Brahma Vihara means a place where Brahmas dwell. Now, earlier I mentioned about the 31 plane existence. Above us are the Deva worlds. We are number 5 from the bottom. So number 6 to number 11 are the Deva worlds. Number 12 and higher are the Brahma worlds. Okay. So Brahma worlds, if you practice these things, you will bypass the Deva world and go straight to be born again to the Brahma realm, very, very high up. So these practices are very, very strong, very powerful for those who want to be born there. But to be born there, some people are very desperate to be born in the heavens. But when you actually develop this, you actually transform yourself from your old character to a very loving character. You will see what are the qualities. And this particular introduction was given by the Buddha to Kalamas. Kalamas were some village people who have not come across the Buddha. So the Kalamas were not Buddhists. The Kalamas had not heard about the Four Noble Truths or the Noble Eightfold Path. But the Buddha was already teaching the Kalamas to develop the 4 Brahma Viharas. So now Kalamas, one who is a disciple of the Noble Ones, thus devoid of greed, devoid of ill will, undeluded, alert and resolute, keeps pervading the first direction, which is the east. Now, Asian countries normally look at the rising sun as the east. In school, we have learned about north, south, east, west as the cardinal direction, but in Eastern countries, it's always east first. Keeps pervading the first direction, the east, as well as the second direction. The second direction is south. The third direction is west, and the fourth direction is north. But all these directions for what? With an awareness imbued with goodwill, with loving kindness. In Pali terms, with metta. And the result of that is that you have a nice smile if you practice very, very often. Now, this extract is from the Kalama Sutta. The Metta Sutta also contains this. Thus, he keeps pervading above, below, all around, everywhere, and in every respect, the all-encompassing cosmos, with an awareness imbued with goodwill, abundant, expansive, immeasurable, free from hostility, free from ill will. Notice the Buddha using the cardinal directions first, starting to the east, south, west, and north. There is a horizontal level. Then he talks about pervading above, below, all around, not close to us, but gets wider and wider, everywhere. And the all-encompassing cosmos goes down into space, beyond Earth, beyond solar system, beyond the galaxy. All living beings, wherever they are, may they be happy. May I have loving kindness for them. So, and we want to develop this until the feeling, the energy is immeasurable. Now, this practice is not just limited to metta or goodwill, which is one of the 4 Brahma Vihara. There are 3 more. Thus, he keeps pervading above, below, all around, everywhere, in every respect, the all-encompassing cosmos, with an awareness imbued with compassion, appreciation, equanimity, which are the karuna, mudita, and upeka. These are the total of 4 Brahma Viharas. Abundant, expansive, immeasurable, free from hostility, free from ill will. So many Buddhist centers will teach you how to meditate on developing metta and probably compassion. Okay, so you can even develop one of these, metta, loving kindness, and compassion. You already gain a chance to be born in the Brahma worlds. Don't talk about all 4. Just take one of these 4. You develop deeply and develop the skills for it. You have transformed your life for the balance of this life on earth. You have a lot of nice people around you. People will see changes in you, and on your passing, you will go straight to the Brahma world. Now, this is the last portion of the slides that I have this morning. Benefits of developing compassion. Now, so far, most of the suttas I talk about being praised by people around you and having a good birth in heaven, whether it's a Deva world or Brahma world. This portion talks about enlightenment, pulling out the defilements and going beyond the 31 planes of existence. That means no more birth, enlightenment, arahatship. So compassion is also needed. So the benefits of developing compassion. Monks, when compassion is developed and cultivated, it's very fruitful and beneficial, the Buddha says. From the cultivation, 2 fruits may be looked for even in this very life. So you can say, the Buddha says that when you cultivate this, you will get the benefit here and now. In some philosophies, they talk about, oh, you become a devout follower of our religion, of our philosophy, you will be born in heaven. That means you can only realize the benefit after you die. The Buddha says, quality of the Dhamma, just now you went through, Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko. Sanditiko means here and now. That means while you are here on earth, when you are still alive, you will realize and experience the benefits of this practice. Don't talk about afterward. Okay? So, realization. Now, here realization talks about enlightenment. The fruit of cultivating compassion, one is enlightenment. Become an arahat. Or if there be any substrate left, the state of non-return. That means you gain the 3rd stage of sainthood, anagami. Realization is arahat. Now, just to backtrack a little bit, the Buddha taught that there are 4 stages of enlightenment. You do not need to go one by one. Some people do go one by one. Some people go straight to arahat. Okay, but there are 4 available stages. We who are not enlightened, we are called ordinary worldlings. The Pali term is called putu jana. You can have super IQ, very high IQ, but you do not understand the 4 noble truths. You are still a putu jana, ordinary worldling. Now, those who have uprooted the first 3 out of 10 defilements get a chance to experience the 1st stage of enlightenment, which is sotapan. If you tone down another 2 more, sakadagami, 2nd stage of enlightenment. And if you uproot these 2, that means a total of first 5 defilements, you attain anagami, the state of non-return, the 3rd stage of sainthood. And the balance 5, that means by that time, all 10 are uprooted, then you have realization. You attain the 4th stage of sainthood, arahatship. And when you attain arahatship, that at that time, that will be your last birth. On your passing away, you will not be born again. And therefore, you have attained the deathless state, like the Buddha. The Buddha and all his enlightened disciples are realized one. Okay? So, compassion, in cultivated, conduces to great peace from bondage, pleasantness of living. So, and how cultivated and made much of does the idea of compassion conduce to these 2 fruits, that of realization and the state or the state of non-return? Here among cultivates the limb of wisdom, that is mindfulness, investigation of the Dhamma, energy, zest or rapture, tranquility, concentration, equanimity, accompanied by the idea of compassion. So because you went deep into compassion, you will automatically cultivate this list of 7. And those who are more familiar with the Dhamma, you will notice this list of 7 It is also called the Satta Sambojjhanga. Satta means the 7 factors of enlightenment. You practice these 7, you will gain enlightenment. It means arahatship. So compassion leads in this direction if you cultivate it well and deep. So do not take lightly that compassion is only for rebirth in the heavens or in the and avoiding hells and so on, but it's also conducive for enlightenment. Okay. So in summary, the Buddha taught in the Dhammapada verse 183, Sabba papasa akaranang kusalasa upasampada sacitta paridapanang etang buddhana sasanam. That we should avoid all evil, do good, purify our mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Now, this Dhammapada verse 183 appears very simple. Anybody who would ask you, for yourself, your family members, your neighbors, people of other philosophies, what did the Buddha teach? Please quote this. This is very simplistic, and most people can understand. And for the practitioner, it is a good daily reminder. Why? When you wake up in the morning, what should I do for the rest of the day? How do I practice the Buddha teaching? Some of us may do the puja, reciting up to the 5 precepts and so on. But as a minimum, please reflect on this, that we should avoid all evil. And for lay people, definitely the 5 precepts. And those who want to practice more, 8 precepts, 10 precepts, and so on, we are welcome. And just by avoiding evil, it doesn't mean you are a good person. You need to cultivate good. And one of the good things you can do is cultivating the 4 Brahma Viharas. And while you are doing that, you are actually purifying your mind, especially when your practice of the 4 Brahma Viharas. And in the last sutta, when I talk about compassion, you go in deep, you already bring in the 7 factors of enlightenment in. That is purifying your mind. And the culmination of that is enlightenment, arahatship. Okay? And by attaining arahatship, you have attained the deathless state. Okay, that's the end of this morning's sharing. Sat Dhammo Cirang Titatu. May the good doctrine long endure. Sabbe Satta Sukhi Hontu. May all beings be happy.
Thank you very much to our speaker, Brother Ananda Fong. Let's do a 3 sadhu to the speaker. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much. And then ask the floor, is there any question after this talk? I will pass you the microphone. Anyway, we will, maybe a short question. We talk about when we mention about the compassion that we need to do. What about us that if we feel that we like to start somewhere? Is there a simple way that we can think of that we want to practice? What should we look at in our mind? Is there something practical we can do so that it becomes a habit? Over to you.
Okay, that's a good question. Now, very often, the practice of loving kindness and compassion are intertwined. Okay, many of us practice it dually. And one of the techniques which I personally use is that some of us are parents. We feel the love for our parents, our father and mother. We feel love for our siblings. And if you have a child at home, we can remember or we feel the love for our child or children. Now, it is that feeling that we need to enhance, to remember. Okay, so when you sit quietly in one corner to develop feelings of loving kindness and compassion, we need to recall the feelings we have for our parents, our siblings, for our children. With that feeling, we need to be mindful and concentrate on that particular feeling and encourage it to grow and get more intense. It is not a mere recitation of the words, may I be well and happy. You can start with that. Most meditation sessions will teach you that. But at a certain level, you will need to have that recollection of that feeling, and the feeling of love for your child and so on. And let the feeling grow more and more intense. For some people, you may experience a warming around your heart, and it grows stronger and envelopes your whole body. That is indication that your concentration and mindfulness session is getting deeper and deeper into loving kindness and compassion. That is the first start. Okay, so, and that, of course, that is for beginners. That is when you're sitting on the cushion or on the chair at home. But over time, if you practice frequent enough, you'll be able to bring this feeling of love and compassion out, not just to your children, your father, mother, siblings, but to those around you. Remember the Kalama Sutta, the Buddha says, radiating towards the east, the south, the west, the north, above, below, all around you. What about those beings, whether you can see them or you cannot see them, the spirits, devas, or whatever beings that dwell in your house or around your house? What about around your taman? Then widen your whole what they call district, Petaling Jaya, to KL, Selangor, Malaysia, to planet Earth, all living beings. Let this strong feeling grow until it envelops the whole planet Earth. And then it goes further, all-encompassing cosmos, beyond the solar system. It grows, it becomes very intense. Now, with frequent practice of compassion and loving kindness, as I described, what happens is that it will influence your daily lives, your encounters with other people. You will tend to have a disposition towards a smiling face. You will tend to be happier, and people who know you to be an angry person, quick to temper, will start to see changes in your personality. I've come across a case in another Buddhist society where the family, the wife and the children, know that the father and the husband are hotheads, or quick to anger. But attending many sessions of loving kindness and compassion, what happened is that the family members are the first to notice a change in their father or husband's character. He became softer. Not that he doesn't get angry, but he has a longer fuse. You have to poke him more before he gets angry, or he gets angry less often. Now, immediate family will notice this change. What about when he goes to work? People in the office will start to see the change. So you are already, by your own practice, influencing people around you. And sooner or later, other hotheads, people with anger management issues, may come to you for advice. Hey, last time you were a very angry person. Then suddenly, now, these past few months, you get to be a cooler and cooler person. Hey, what you do? These questions may come from Buddhists or non-Buddhists. Doesn't matter. The technique is not religious. You're not praying here to this God, changing their God or whatever. We're not doing that. We are just practicing something skillful that benefits us and affecting people around you. When I walk around my taman for exercise, animals react differently to me. Okay, some cats are very cautious, but some cats are become more and more friendly. It's not my cat. I don't have any animals in my house, but they come up to me. They want to rub their bodies against my leg. Dogs that keep on barking at me, suddenly I see, although they bark, maybe they have to do their duty to tell the owner that I'm doing my job. But you notice the tail is wagging, It's a conflict of signal. Barking, but not showing the teeth, not very angry, but just barking. It's like alert. But wagging the tail clearly indicates, hey, the animal is happy with you. So you can see changes, not just in people, but also in animals around you. So your attitude will change. It is called gradual personal development. Okay.
I think many of us also experience when you mention about the animals coming to us, especially the domestic cats from the neighborhood. I think that was a very good example. In fact, we all enjoyed the talk by our Brother Ananda Fong on this Dhamma sharing. And always I remember is that for those of you who are here in this hall, gratitude to you for coming to the shrine hall, coming all the way from the comfort of your home. And always we thank the speaker, Brother Ananda Fong, who has spent many hours to prepare material for this Dhamma talk. And with the participation of the morning puja and listening to the Dhamma, with the merits accrued, let us dedicate the merits to our departed relatives, families and friends, and all beings. May they rejoice in these merits. We should dedicate merits to those who are not feeling well. May they have a speedy recovery. May they be free from harm and danger. I will be passing the sharing of merits to be conducted by Venerable Indah Ratana.
Before we share in merits, we invoke the blessing for all the people are here and also all the people are joining in the online. Invoke the blessing of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha for the well-being and happiness of all of you. Sabbitiyo vivanjanto sabbarogo vinasato mate bhavadvantarayo sukhi digayuko bhava Bhavatu samba mangalang rakantu samba devata Sabba buddhanubhavena sada sunti bhavantu te Bhavatu samba mangalang rakantu
Sabba devata Abhaduvarnavena Sabda Soti Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sabba Mangalam Rakantu Sabba Devata Abhaduvarnavena Sabda Soti Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sabba Mangalam Rakantu Sabba Devata Sabba Samganubhavena Sabda Buddhi Bhavantu Te
Dhamma vadanti ayuvanno sukhaṃ balam. Let us share the merits too. The merits we accrued this morning by observing 5 precepts, by reciting the virtues of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, and also listening to the Dhamma talk by the Ananda Fong. May all these meritorious deeds be shared with all other sentient beings, all the devas, all the celestial beings, and all the departed relatives. And may they all rejoice in these merits. May they all be well, happy, and peaceful. With this in mind, recite together the sharing of merits. Akasattha ca bhummatta devanaga mahindika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakantu loka sasanang chirang rakantu desanang chirang rakantu mang parang Ithāvatā ca amhehi sambhataṃ puñya sampadāṃ Sabbe deva sabbe satta sabbe bhutanumodantu sabba sampatti sindhya. Idang me ñātinang hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idang me ñātinang hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idang me ñātinang hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Imang no punya bagang mata pitu nanche acariya nanche sabba sata nanche sabba mita nanche sabba nyati nanche sabba peta nanche sabba devata nanche bajime. Imang no punya bagang sabba satanang dema sabbe satta sukita hontu. Make aspiration. Imina punya kammena mami bal samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Idang me punyang asavakkaya vahang hotu. Idang me punyang nibbanas paccayo hotu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, let's put our palms together. Let's pay respect to the Triple Gem. Buddhang bujimi, Dhammang bujimi, Sanghang bujimi. Sukhi Hontu. Thank you very much. Sadhu to those who have participated in the Buddha Puja to the end of the session with the dedication of merits. To those who have been following us online, we have come to the end of this 100 online Sunday Buddha Puja. Do visit our Facebook, your society's Facebook, for further information. And also don't forget, we will be sending reminders over the WhatsApp. Please visit us again at the same venue on Sunday morning, 2nd of October. Sadhu to everyone for partaking in this Buddha Puja service. May you and family be safe, well, happy, and peaceful always. Please continue to stay safe, stay cautious. Sukhi Hontu. Goodbye. Sabbe Sata Sukita Hontu.
Bahung sahan semabhinim mitesayudantang ngirimi kelang udita sasena marang dana di dhamma vidhi